Welcome back, everyone. Speaking of back, it's back month here at Live Whole. Yay! I was inspired to do back month because a friend of mine over the holidays was describing to me her debilitating back pain. Things that she loved to do, everyday activities, were tedious for her, just like putting on her heels. Well, she shouldn't have been wearing heels anyways, but you get the point. Millions of people suffer from back pain, including, newsflash, myself. Oh yes, I have my own aches and pains. And there's a bunch of reasons for back pain. But what I originally thought was due to overexertion, overuse, or injury actually turned out not to be the case. I'll never forget the day my teacher took me through this dynamic chair series, which we're actually going to do. I was cursing him to the high heavens, my back was on fire, and I swore that I would not be able to walk the next morning. Funny thing is, the next day while I was sore, I was no longer in pain, and by the end of the week, my back had felt better than it had in years. I'm not saying this will be the case for everybody, but we tend to focus on the front side of our core, which is our abdominals. We all want that six-pack, to the neglect of our backside, which is just as important, and that's the work we're here to do this month. So Lauren, these are for you and for you at home. This first week, we're calling Technique Week because there's some key concepts I want you to have down pat before we move on to our workouts. You're gonna hear me say words like bracing, brace, and core stabilization a lot. So let's talk about what those mean. Bracing. So basically, what would you do if someone hit you in the gut? You'd kind of pull everything in and try to make everything as tight as you could so there wouldn't be as much impact here. Well, that's what core bracing is. So take your hands and take them outside of your rib cage. Take an inhale. Feel the ribs actually push into the hands, and as you exhale, draw the ribs in and into the back body and the navel to the spine. So hopefully you can see the action of that. I'm just going to take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, my navel moves towards my back body and I feel my low back stabilize. If you look at the videos from the past weeks, I am talking about this all the time, this core stabilization. If you can imagine a corset, remember those corsets those women had in the 1700s? My history is terrible, but you know, those things that they pulled, they were onto something because it made those ladies so thin. That's the idea you want. Someone is taking a corset from behind you and pulling it really tight. So inhale, and then exhale. Ribs in, navel to spine. Just hold that, and you'll still be able to breathe, but you want to feel that tightening happen. So that core stabilization is really going to help stabilize your back. So the more you can strengthen those muscles, stabilize, the stronger your back's going to be, because we're working on the stabilizing muscles. So everything that includes the hips, the glutes, and I'll reference a couple of the videos I had earlier. So with that concept in mind, let's move to the wall and do a wall sit. So you're going to want to find a wall, and then you're going to sit. Now, if you want to work on a little more hip and leg strength, which will stabilize the back, get a little lower and hold this for about 30 seconds to a minute. Now, keep in mind that navel, again, is moving back towards the back body. So you want to think of your back moving closer to the wall without compressing it in. So there should still be some natural space distance between your low back and the wall. And then move your shoulder blades down your back so they're touching the wall. And then take those ribs and move them closer into the wall. Now you're really going to feel your legs start to fire up. You're going to feel strong and solid here. Again, if you have any pain, just ease up a little bit. You can come up a little bit higher, which I'm going to do anyways to move on to the next move. You're going to move your feet a little bit away from you, probably about 1 to 2 feet away from the wall. Now this one isn't so much about the leg strength, but the upper back strength. So roll the shoulders down and back. And now keeping that bracing, that core stabilization in mind, we're pulling in. Keep imagining that corset coming around your back and pulling the waist in tighter, navel to the spine. Just feel that for a second. And then move the arms back in space. As much as you can, you're trying to get the palms flat against the wall and the arms, so this part of your arm against the wall, without arching and bringing your back off the wall. So you want to keep the concept of bracing and core stabilization in here. So your shoulders may start to burn a little bit. And you're also trying to straighten the elbows. Good. Keep moving the navel back to the spine every time you exhale. Keep closing the ribs in closer towards each other. And I want you to hold this for about at least 30 seconds, if you can, up to 1.5 to 2 minutes. Remember that fire I told you about when I was with my teacher in those chair poses? I'm feeling it in the back of my shoulders. So this is going to help develop and strengthen weak upper back and shoulder muscles, postural muscles, which are going to be great for posture. So many times when people say, oh, I have back pain, we immediately think it's the low back. But a lot of people have trouble in the neck and shoulders, and strengthening again is key. Did I say this is going to help with your posture? Keep pulling the navel to the spine. And we're going to bring them down so we can move on to the next ones. But again, you want to build up your time, play some funky music, play anything that will help keep your mind off of the fire in your shoulders. Excellent. Now let's take it down to the floor. So now that we're down here on the floor, I'm going to show you similar bracing techniques. It might be easier to feel when you have your back against the mat. So turn around. And then again, use that bracing concept, that core stabilization as you roll down. You can use your hands underneath your thigh, pull your navel towards your back body, and slowly roll down till you're lying all the way down on your backs. Very nice. Now, you can keep the knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Just scooch down a little bit to where you're comfortable. The hands can just relax on the side. And I'm going to ask you to take the palms and have them face towards the ceiling so you have some external rotation in the shoulders and the shoulder blades slide down the back. And again, watch the shoulders don't pop up to the ears. If you need to mindfully pull them down, please do so. Now we're going to talk about this bracing concept again. And as you draw the ribs in, you'll be able to feel some of the upper back move towards the mat, some kind of pressure there on the mat and the back ribs. And then the navel's going to draw towards the mat without crushing the low back into the floor. So you want to, again, maintain a natural distance, a natural curvature in the spine, but the navel is still moving down and in again. Imagine creating some space in your bra top or your tank top. Good. Shoulders externally rotate, and as if someone's going to punch you in the stomach again, brace yourself and hold. And you can still breathe. You may not be able to breathe as deeply into the low belly, but you can breathe from here up into the lungs. And feel your whole core tighten. You're going to tone, but you're also, more importantly, going to start to help strengthen the muscles that stabilize your back. Again, keep the shoulder blades pushing into the mat so they don't pop up here. A caution against kind of pressing the low back into the floor and removing the curve of the spine. You want to keep that nice and neutral. Now from here, we're going to move to another little bit more strengthening exercise. So we're going to lift the legs up to 90 degrees. Tabletop position. Now this doesn't really look like 90, again, geometry and history, not my strong points, but I know that's not 90. If you've been a student of mine, you've definitely heard me say, I should be able to balance my glass of wine on your shins. So this way it's going straight to your mouth. This way it's going to the floor. So you want a nice 90-degree angle with the legs. And keep that core bracing in mind. So now we're challenging your core stability a little bit more. Definitely working on the front side of the core and the abdominals, but also you'll feel the low back. If it's too much for you, turn your palms down so you can kind of help brace yourself with your hands. Neck is relaxed. And again, if this is too much, you can either bend the knees a little bit more, or you can just lower one leg and work one leg at a time, but you want to hold them for at least 30 seconds to a minute. Each leg, if you're doing legs, you can switch. Keeping that core bracing, fundamental stability throughout the abdominals in the back. And then you can try to pick it up for both legs to 90. Watch that the knees don't pull in towards the face. Move them away from the face a little bit, again, to challenge that core strength. And then draw the knees to the chest after you've held those for a little bit. So again, you get to work on these at your own pace sometime throughout the week, at least 3 times this week. I want you trying these before we move on to our full workouts. I'm going to give you one more, a little bit more challenging exercise if this one seems okay for you. This time we're going to place the arms over the head just like we did up against the wall. So the arms are going to come over the head and the legs are going to come out to about 45 degrees. Challenging the core stability a little bit more. Pulling the navel to the spine. And just hold. Little shaking going on, little rattling, a little rolling, that's okay. That means it's working. And you're just challenging your body. If it gets to be too much and you feel like you're compromising your back or something's painful, draw the knees in. Or lift them a little higher. If you want more of a challenge, you're going to take them out a little bit more and lower. So find what works for you and try to hold for up to a minute in either position. I'm going to stay here kind of in the middle with my arms out and my legs at 45. You can always bring the arms down as well. That's going to kind of ease off the challenge. Let's do the last 10 seconds when the arm's up. And remember, this is something you build up towards. So if you need to go back to the wall and work on the core stabilization and bracing there, you can. And let's pull it in. And just roll the back side to side. Now we want to find a little bit of release so the low back can relax. Going to pull your knees in and out a little bit maybe. Whatever feels good to give the low back a little bit of a massage. And we're going to roll it back and up a couple times, keeping the bracing in mind. Nice job. And next week we'll move on to your workouts.